We're talking right now with Tiffany Phelan, and she's the owner of Senior Helpers. We also have Jennifer Kramer, who is the owner of Legal Stuff, and we've been talking a little bit about aging parents and some of the things that people don't want to talk about ever, and they should. And a couple of things that I want to talk about before we get into the funding part first is, you had mentioned in the magic. When you work with them, they make the magic, the magic is, I think, making things go smooth as you can. And let me tell you something, when all of this is happening, there are so many different emotions. Some of them are flared anger, scared, right? And some of them don't even care. There's a lot of different things that you deal with. I know you have a lot of stories that you want to get out, but so it may not go 100% smooth, but if you've got them in place with everything that we're talking about here, it's going to be a lot smoother and so much easier.
And I think, to speak to that, when families call me, and we get phone calls first, and oftentimes the beginning of the phone call is a mini synopsis of their entire life and relationship with their loved ones, like their children, their parents, their siblings. And there's a lot of emotion, because if we didn't care, it wouldn't come out like that, right? And so oftentimes it's a big vent session at first. And when we're redirecting, and my care team's redirecting that first conversation, I use an example of two trains on tracks that are parallel to each other, running right next to each other. And the parent, or the senior themselves, is going to have their plan of where they want their train to go. And they're moving, whether you like it or not, they're moving, 150 miles an hour down the tracks, and that's where they're going. And so instead of trying to stop that train, building a wall in front of it or whatever, or throwing the engineer off, the alternative is have a train right next to it. And sometimes we can get ourselves going to the same place, we can get to the same goal. And so an example of that would be parents want to live at home, but they don't want anybody in their home helping them. So how can we show them ways in which that could really be helpful? And the first thing that I suggest to family is, listen, I understand that you went to your mom's house and she hasn't clearly showered in a very long time, and that's upsetting. That would be emotionally upsetting to anybody. And so instead of saying, Mom, you stink, you got to take a shower, okay, that could be maybe offensive. Instead of doing that, and instead of saying, I'm bringing a caregiver in and they're going to stick you in the shower, that could be kind of scary. So the alternative would be, hey Mom, I know you're not driving anymore and you used to love to get your nails done. Would you like me to make you a nail appointment? That's probably going to get you a yes. Mm-hmm. So that way, when the caregiver comes in, and we're going to leave that part out at the very first, right? We're going to get some buy-in on the things that are important. And for everybody, that's different. It might be doing puzzles or writing cards, Christmas cards. Our caregivers help our clients write Christmas cards, or take dictation and allow the client to say what they want to say, and the caregiver writes it down. Whatever it is, we want to say what's important to that senior that's going to have them have some buy-in. Once they have a relationship with that caregiver, because the beauty of our service is some of our clients have had the same caregiver for almost an entire decade.
That's
right?
amazing. That's
a really long time,
and that speaks for itself, right?
And so when they have a bond with that person, that's when the caregiver, we're going to trust that, because the showers in the care plan, they're going to come in and say, oh, Mrs. Smith, I'm here to take you to your nail appointment. Oh no, look at your shirt, let me get you a fresh shirt. They're just going to be helpful, and then we're going to work our way toward that shower. And so instead of, that is my example of two trains going to the same place, but just on different tracks, and getting some buy-in from that senior on getting to the point where the kids want.
I'd have them come in and do the laundry and do a meal the first thing, because that probably, when somebody does that for you, and you don't have to deal with that, or cook a scrumptious meal and not have to have a frozen meal.
Or they do it together, and I think that's getting to know your client and what they like. And I know, Jennifer, you do that a lot. Getting to know what's really important to them, because as an example, for some of our ladies that we care for, they took care of their families for their whole lives. So the fact that they can't cook a meal is actually really emotional for them. And so having somebody cook them a meal yes, they get to eat it, but would it be more meaningful if they sat down at the table and tore the lettuce and put things in the salad while the caregiver makes the meat or whatever requires standing
See
or
why I
straight?
love these people? They think of things and it's so
Absolutely.
warm and cozy and make people feel good.
Well, and a lot of times the kids don't have the time and they get really impatient and they don't have that
Mhm.
patience to
Oh
really go
yeah,
through
the
that
kids
whole
know
process.
definitely. They're running around. They may not
Exactly.
even live here. That's another thing. They may
Yep.
not even live in the same state. But mainly, I think that emotional part of that, where they don't have the patience. It's, and my gosh, especially with everyone wanting things done fast now today and getting everything done, it doesn't always work like that, especially with us seniors. Now, I do want to talk about funding, but I want to get out one more time again, at least one or two more times. We do have our lines open here for everyone that's going to get entered into it. It's a full will package. It's a $495 value free to you or anyone that you know. Anyone that doesn't win, Jennifer gives a 30% off discount for her services on that. But call in here, and I'm letting everyone call throughout the rest of the show to be able to get entered in to win this. Everyone should have one, especially if you're I don't care, 18 years and older, children or not, money or not, everybody really needs to have one.
Mm-hmm.
So our number here is 602-277-5369, and toll free it's 1-866-536-1100. Let's go ahead and talk about the funding.
Yeah, so, for home care services, there are a few different ways that people will fund that. And so the first one and the most common is private pay. And so sometimes that can sound a little intimidating, but I remind families that being able to have 1 or 2 days of care at home, if that keeps your loved one out of an assisted living facility, that's a much more expensive setting because you're paying sometimes for a lot of care you're not really needing. They need the minimum amount of assistance, but they're paying for the maximum amount of
And
assistance.
they're giving the family
right?
the break that they need.
And giving the family the break. So sometimes you can maintain a really nice, safe environment with a very minimal amount of service. So that's one way, is private pay. The second way, and really so underutilized, is the VA. So every single person who served this country and was honorably discharged has access to VA services. Now, I think a lot of people hear this and they think, oh, I've heard about the VA. Uh-oh, right? There's been a couple Phoenix area scandals, let's say, in the last. But at the end of the day, first of all, they've done a great job to overcome those challenges here in Phoenix, the VA has, over the last few years. But second of all, there's a lot of benefits beyond just seeing a doctor. So yes, you can go to the VA and you can get your medical care taken care of, but you can also go to the VA just to have your home care taken care of. And then you can see your regular doctor for everything else, and it doesn't affect that. And so the book of benefits that veterans have available to them, which so many don't use because many left the service and went into their civilian job and had insurance through that and then Medicare and have just never gone back to use it. That is a benefit that's sitting there waiting and available. And then in addition to the direct payments from the VA for home care services, there's also the aid and attendance pension.
Right,
and Jennifer,
pension.
do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, and that's available both to the veteran and his spouse. So if they need any caregivers to come in, it gives them extra income to pay either for caregivers or anything that they need. But they've served our country. They're entitled to it, and I don't know if they don't know about it or they just don't go for it.
That I've I didn't make it up, but you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And the situation is that, like you said, the people they get out of whatever area that they were in the Army or what have you, and guess what? They go to work, they live their lives now. They've forgotten about all of that.
They didn't need
and
it.
it's not like they're going to write you a letter and say, "Here, you've left this on the table."
Well, and you didn't
Don't
have to
leave the
spend
room.
20 years in the military to get it either. It's literally the 4 years. It's like 90 days with 1 day during wartime.
Wow.
In order to qualify for them.
And honestly, my dad did 2 years, and then he gets his VA benefits. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of caveats on that too. And so I think everybody owes it to themselves and their family to check out if their loved one might qualify for that.
So there are people that are listening. Can you help them? I know that you do a lot of, when you advocate for your seniors, you're all about resources as well.
Oh,
Yes.
did you forget I was a VA claim agent?
Well, I'm sorry. I did. Talk about that. Oh, excuse me.
No, that's why we were
because
talking.
you do have resources, but we have one here right now. So let's talk about that.
She calls me.
That
What
was
do
a
you
great
mean?
comeback, Carol. Good comeback. Yeah, I did forget. She fell off her chair when she said that. Yes, go ahead and tell them.
I mean, I'm a VA claim agent, so if you
So
have any
what do they
questions.
do? They can call you and you can help them with that.
I guide them through the forms that they need, what they have to do, the process in order to get the payments.
So
Even
let
if they've never been to the VA.
Ever.
That's the best time really to call you is if they've never been, because you can start them all the way from not even having services yet.
And they don't even have to actually go to a doctor to get the pension benefits.
So let me give out her phone number for that, and believe me, anybody who's listening right this, everybody should call and just at least have that consultation. Find out where you stand with it. Her number is 602-457-2333. You can also check her out on her website, which is legalstuffaz.com. We do have our lines open here for everyone to get entered into win. It is a full will package. It includes everything that you need, and it's a $495 value free to you or anyone that you know. You're also, if you don't win that, you're going to get 30% off. She always offers that. Our number here is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. Also, take Tiffany's information down. She's the owner of Senior Helpers with an S. So that phone number to call her is 480-360-4141. It's seniorhelpers with an S.com. Hang tight. We're going to be back in just a minute.
Okay, now we have to do the good stories.
Yep, we have two more funding sources. So
Okay.
we just have to, we're going to talk real quickly about long-term care insurance.
Oh, yeah.
And also now Medicare has this program.
Oh, my
this
phone.
for you.
Thanks.
So Medicare has a new program, so anybody with any kind of cognitive impairment and is on Medicare can be approved, and we work with a company called Synapticure to do this, but they can be approved for a certain number of hours per year paid for by Medicare, brand new.
Wow,
brand
that's
new
neat.
program. So that's another thing that we can provide. So I think I could probably take care of that in a minute, just really quickly. So
Okay.
these are two other sources of funding. And then we can do a couple of stories, I think.
Okay.
People like to hear
We'll just do
that.
fast, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. One more time, I'll say your special, and that's it. I mean, I think that we've always talked about this, and I know that with you, I experienced it, where I saw that somebody was perfectly fine, but really not hiding a
Presenting
lot.
as fine.
As fine. Well, I also think this is another thing that's really, really, really important, that the children don't look. They don't see them, they don't even want to see it, because how could that family ever miss my ex-mother-in-law's legs or arms that are black and blue and big
But
sores?
she was intentionally covering it up.
Yes, but
She was-
when
I
I
mean-
cross my legs, I'm sorry, I see my ankles and they looked swollen. A lot of times they don't want to accept that their parents might be
Or they're not looking
dying.
with a critical eye.
Right.
They're kind of
They
going
don't-
in like it's always been. It's always been just to say hi to mom, whatever the relationship is, not going in with that kind of
Right,
of like,
right.
does this really look normal? Or I call it normative creep. So normal changes, but it changes so slowly. So it's not like one day, you're talking normally and then the next day you're talking Fruit Loops. But it's more like I'm speaking normally and then I start forgetting a couple of words and then and so it's just a very slow, so people don't, I think.
Or you have the kids that come in from New York for the holidays, they're only here for 2 days. Oh my God, what are they gonna do? They say to
What
themselves,
are they really saying?
what can I do? I'm just gonna have to go because I don't have enough time to get anything lined up or do anything, and they just kind of stick their heads back in the sand and go back home.
And that's actually a great example of times where it's great to have a fiduciary. We have plenty of families that we've worked with that have had fiduciaries for their loved one because they live out of town.
Yep.
Or it's a tense relationship, not a bad one, but just they don't listen to their kids.
I think everybody
I'm
should have
bringing
a
that.
fiduciary. I mean, I think it should
They
be a
just
law.
better vet them
Because
there's
there'd be
so many
less
different ones.
fights and people would get their money that they deserved or things like that. I mean, that's
My
how
mom
I
just
feel
looked at
like-
me when I went back. Well, I'm going Saturday to see her, but the last time I was there, she just goes, just stay together. Just stay together. Whatever happens, don't argue.
Don't argue.
Don't fight. Just stay together. I'm like, of course we will, Mom. Tell my sister, but yeah, of course we will. But yeah,
I know.
that's all they really want is for
I
their
know
kids
that.
to be.
I said it. I know. So welcome back, everyone. I want to give it out one more time. We do have our lines open here for everyone to get entered in to win a full will package, and it has everything you could possibly need, and it's a $495 value free to you or anyone that you know. And our number here is 602-277-5369, and toll free it's 1-866-536-1100. Even if you have one dust it off, look it out, and have her take a second opinion on it, because you know what? It's always good to make sure that those are updated as well. I know that you wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of other super things that people may not know about when it comes to funding.
Yeah, we just want to touch, we were talking about funding, we talked about private pay, we talked about the VA, but there are a couple other ones that your listeners might be listening to and go, oh yeah, I know, actually I know what that is. And one is long-term care insurance. And so many people, especially people who work for larger corporations throughout their life, had access to pay for long-term care insurance. And that insurance is what's made to either pay for an assisted living, but many people don't know that that's also meant to pay for home care. And sometimes it's a very robust benefit. And so our staff has been doing this, everyone on my team's been doing this for a long time. And if anyone has a question about what their parents, like what it means, you know, they're looking at their policy and saying, I don't really know, what does this cover? We're happy to help. We're happy to facilitate a call with the family to the insurance company to help them understand whatever it is that they want to just sort of start to put together what could this look like. So that's one. And the other one is Medicare. So Medicare has not historically paid for any kind of non-medical home care services, but that has changed this year. And now there is a program, it is called the Medicare Guide Program, and it is geared toward folks who have some kind of cognitive decline. That doesn't mean they have to have an Alzheimer's diagnosis, but some kind of cognitive decline and are on Medicare. There is an opportunity to have Medicare approve you for a certain number of hours. It's all sort of based on a variety of factors, but approve you for a certain number of hours of care for the year. And that could be a great way either for family to get respite care, or it could be a great way to introduce them to the idea of home care without them having to pay anything. A lot of families have used it for that, so they can say, Mom, just give it a shot. If you don't like it, it's free anyway,
yeah, right?
Seniors
right.
love something free. So our team can actually, we use a company that can help you understand what the Medicare benefit is, if it applies to your family member, if it doesn't right now, how it might in the future. So that's just another great and very, very new benefit that's available for Medicare.
And what do we want to talk about, Jennifer, for people out there that are listening on when it comes to, you know, the funding and how you can help? Again, reiterate that you can help people with the VA. Reiterate that too.
I mean, I was just thinking when we were talking about that long-term care, that is amazing. And us in our late 40s and early 50s, that's when we're supposed to be buying it. So we haven't. And a lot of the kids that experience it through their parents understand that value. And they'll start picking it up. And it's definitely something we should consider younger starting to pay into it. Because the policies are so different now than they were even back then. So different, and the cost is so different.
And getting a policy now, the policies now, the way they used to be, were even much more robust. And so I think as time goes on, they've peeled that back. So that the more you get sooner, you're locked into your policy, and you get a better policy ultimately when you need to use it in the future.
Right, and when people listen up when you hear these things, it might be you, it might be someone that you know, and that's what I love about the show, and that the networking part of this, because we all have a parent, you know, and you know maybe they're fine now, but maybe they are not fine. You're going to find out that they're not. You're going to go to their homes, so you're going to see there's just something a little off, a little different. But also that you want to make sure that really you should take care of these things before you start seeing it. Right? Be there, ask questions. I think that's another thing, is you have to be really involved, and a lot of the families are just not involved.
We're just
hardly
too
at all.
busy.
I would say we're too busy,
Yeah.
or we don't live in the same state. You mentioned that earlier, and or there's some feelings there, you know.
Blended families, which
Blended
is why
that's another
fiduciaries
one.
are important. But just make sure, like if you're going to hire a fiduciary, interview them. Interview 2 or 3 from small companies to medium to large. There's different personalities, and you need to find the right one for you that's going to know your needs.
What I like about you is that, first of all, you're mobile. You do it all. I mean, I don't care. We've been talking a little bit about health care, but you also can help people in real estate. I mean, there's with everything. You're a jack of all trades when it comes to this. You're also a notary, right? So
notary.
It's all can be done very easily within, you know, just a few hours. You know, just get together and let's work on this. Right? What would be your final words? I'm going to go with you, Tiffany, and say what you think first.
Well, what I want to do is just tell your viewers that for me, for this year, I've been doing this, like I said, for 2 decades. And this year and going into next year, has a big push for us has been education. And so for any of your viewers who are thinking, I need more information about one of these things, I will tell you that at the Scottsdale Senior Center twice a month, we are doing a whole series on aging safely. We're doing it in conjunction with the Scottsdale Fire Department, with whom I've worked very closely for many years. And then many churches around the valley. I am doing a special series on Alzheimer's and dementia training. It's gotten rave reviews. We've gotten return invitations. And anybody who's interested in additional training on anything is more than welcome to give us a call at our office, and I can kind of let them know what the training schedule is coming up, see if there's something they want to jump in on. And honestly, all of these trainings are very fun and interactive, and it gives us a chance to hear that everybody's going through what we're going through, right? We have more people that we can bounce our ideas off.
And incredibly educational. Their phone number to call is 480-360-4141. They do work valley-wide. They do free assessments, I just and then, of course, you could check them out on the website, which is seniorhelpers with an S.com. The main thing is just please have this conversation. Do not put your heads in the sand with it. I don't know why people do. I also don't know why they don't make it a law that every family does have a fiduciary that they have to get one. You know, you have to do certain things with everything almost, it seems like lately. Why not something like that?
It's just, it's just to have options, just to know what your options are, so the kids know, even, with senior helpers. We're just there to help pay bills or to make sure you're not being taken advantage of. We can just oversee things, whatever it takes to make you feel comfortable and not threatened.
Perfect that you just said that. Give me a story, because I know you have a jillion of them, okay? Of somebody that, because you also help the parents that might be getting taken advantage of. And I want you to talk about that real quickly.
Well, we were talking about holidays, and most of the time we think it's there to spend time with family, but unfortunately there's a lot of times when the kids use that opportunity to exploit their parents. Mm-hmm. And they'll jump in and they'll redo all their documents real quick while they're here for a couple days, and then just leave the parents high and dry. I've had families that have cleaned out their parents' bank accounts. I mean, things are just getting really sad, and so you just need to make sure you've got things in line and that people know what you're thinking.
Yeah. I mean, and also it's really sad. That made me think of something. There are a lot of kids out there, I hate to say this, but they're desperate.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what this is all about. That when it comes to you, Jennifer, is because most people, that's what happens. Their kids come in and do something terrible, and it doesn't have to be that way. Right?
No, or they feel like they have nobody else. They have to let these kids do what they're doing, because who else is going to do
kids,
it?
And they love them no matter what.
Exactly.
No matter what your kids do to you, it's amazing.
But you know what? If they're ever scared or ever have questions, they can actually call Adult Protective Services themselves. And APS will actually come in and do an assessment and investigate the kids or neighbors or friends. Whoever they're not comfortable with, they can call. And someone will come check it out.
So when you're listening to this show here, it's all about being proactive.
Absolutely.
Right? Proactive is the most important thing. Do you have anything you wanted to say?
You know what? I think being proactive is just asking questions, starting there.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever question came to your mind when you listened to us for an hour or a portion of the hour, you've got great resources here. I've heard the phone number a bunch of times, and I think it's just about educating yourself, starting to ask questions. Even a year or two before you might even need to use the information is perfectly fine.
Absolutely.
We've had people that have actually had multi-year relationships with us on the phone, calling us once or twice a year to let us know how things are progressing before they even use our service.
Because I think what happens with the parents, sometimes they rally, right? They're okay for a little while, then they're not. And you don't have to be in the hospital for that, believe me. And also, you are a specialist in dementia, right?
We are, yes.
And so, just tell them a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we actually utilize a very special program called Senior Gems. It was created for us by a lifetime occupational therapist named Tiffany Phelan, who dedicated her career to teaching us as professionals how to care for our loved ones with dementia and Alzheimer's disease. And so that is actually a program that we utilize with our caregivers, we utilize it with our families, and we utilize it with the community to teach people how to really respect our loved ones with dementia, how to respect their wishes while also making sure to keep them safe, because sometimes they're making decisions that are a little unsafe.
The best way to respect their wishes is for the parents to make sure that they have their full will done, and that
power of attorneys.
And the power of attorneys and all the paperwork that you need that will make you will not be turning over in your grave. You'll know that things are being taken care of the way you wanted them, and that's really important. So call in here. Everyone's getting entered into win a full will based package there, and our number here is 602-277-5369, and toll free it's 1-866-536-1100. You can check it out on her website. That's Jennifer's is legalstuffaz.com, or go to seniorhelpers.com. They can help too. And you know what, guys? Don't put your heads in the sand. Let's take care of this and have some peace of mind.